the silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we would take the world to its feet. Move mountains, bring it to its feet. Move mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. That we have each other, and for that we have each other, and we will rise, we will rise, we will rise, oh, we'll rise.
Good evening, and welcome to Delta's Building Democracy. This is our follow-up after Black Policy Day. I am Dr. Shaniqua Smith, a restorative practitioner, one of the co-collaborators of Black Policy Day, and also a co-collaborator of the Black Voters Impact Initiative. And the Black Voter Impact Initiative purpose is to embrace, educate, and empower Black and marginalized community members to be civically engaged inside and outside of the voting booth. We are a community that focuses on the importance of learning, connecting, and accompanying one another as we grow politically in our communities. And I'm also a member of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. But before I get into the agenda for tonight, I will have this esteemed panelists self-introduce themselves before we get on the follow-up and the next steps after Black Policy Day. And I am going to pass it on to Crystal.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Crystal Good, the founder and publisher of Black by God. And Shaniqua, I'm going to have to ask you about your language. Co-collaborator with Dr. Smith and Katanya Hart and so many people to pull off Black Policy Day. And I'm going to pass it to Bobby Robinson.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm Bobby Robinson, here representing Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated Xi Alpha chapter here in Charleston, West Virginia. We were blessed to be asked to be a part of the Black Policy Day this year as well as last year, and this has been a wonderful experience, and we appreciate the opportunities. And I just stand here ready to help in any way I possibly can. And I'll pass it on to Ray Whiting.
My name is Ray Whiting, and I'm the Polmark president for the Charleston Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity out of the East Central Province. And I'm happy to be here. And I will pass this to Ms. Jana Coleman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jana Coleman. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. This year, I was the West Virginia State Coordinator for Social Action, along with my sister, Karen Williams. So that's what we worked with Black Policy. We were happy to be a part of it. We moved our day to be there because we were like so excited. And I'm just going to throw this to whomever. Oh, Katanya Hart, you're next.
Well, thank you. I am Katanya Hart, one of the co-collaborators of Black Policy Day. Very proud and happy for that, as well as a part of the NAACP, the National Organization for Women, and then my own company, which is the Partnership for Furthering Arts and Education. And I will throw it over to Dr. Guyton.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I am Deidre Guyton. I am the social action liaison for West Virginia, the Midwest chapter of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I am Vice President of Corporate Relations at Bluefield State University. And I will pass it back to Dr. Smith.
Thank you all so much. And as you all know, thank you all for coming here and adding your collective wisdom to this space. Now, we had this great space at Black Policy Day, and one thing that I'm proud of, I remember the first year, Crystal sent out a Google form trying to build a policy, and we couldn't even get no response. And we thank for the help that we received from the different organizations and working together that we had a policy. And we still have space now to ask people to work on this policy because we're still working together. There's still a lot of space that we need to work together on our policy. But we have more action and policy and more presence. But we know it's not only about one day. And we know that we all are in our communities doing work. So it's important for us to find out what are we doing? How can we come together collectively to strengthen our work? And most importantly, come together to educate those in power that have no idea what is needed and what is going on in our community. But before I go on, I definitely would like to give a shout out to the students that were there because those are our next generation. And we're even talking to some students that is giving some great feedback on the discipline bill that we'll be talking to later. But I want to just shout out my South Charleston High School students and my Capital High School students. And we have West Middle Fairmont students there and Job Corps and Jefferson High School students and Washington High School students and Hedgeville High School students and Martinsburg High School students and Musselman High School students and Spring Mill High School students. So we are so glad for the representation that we had to our students that felt that they was very impactful. Some students said that was the first time that they ever came to the Capitol. So we are glad that we are doing things to encourage civic engagement, to not only tell them to get out to vote, but doing things to encourage civic engagement, to know why their vote is very important. But to give you just a little tools to go forward, because we said we're going to go forward, I would like Lauren to drop in the link, our Black Policy Day feedback form. We hope that everybody had a chance to take the feedback form and give us some feedback, because as we continue to grow, especially in capacity, as you all see that we definitely doubled in capacity, that we want to make sure that we're being effective in our presence and also going forward. And another thing that we're going to drop in the link, we're going to drop in the link for you to contact your legislator, because we want to make sure that everyone is able, if you didn't get a chance to contact your legislator, if you wasn't able to make it to Black Policy Day, we're going to drop in a link for you to be able to contact your legislator. And once you contact your legislator, we're going to drop another link in the chat for you. That is going to be the 224 legislative package. And this is going to be all the information, you know, where they at, where they located, what committees they serve on, what the maps through the Capitol, if you ever decide to go down to the Capitol. And I know some people do not live in Charleston and live far. I got you. Drop the link in the chat so you can watch the sessions via virtual. So there's the link for you to watch virtual. You can see what is going on at the Capitol. You can actually contact your legislators and let them know what you're actually thinking and feeling. And so now this is the time that we all is going to share some reflections and also let everyone know what is next. What's going on in our communities? What are our chapters doing? What do we know that's going on in our communities? What civic engagement is about to go on? We know it's election season coming on. And so we don't want to wait the last minute to gather and come together. And so now I am going to pass it to Dr. Guyton.
Okay, thank you. My reflections on Black policy. It was bigger, and always bigger is better, but we can do better, as we say. So what I would like to do next year or see done next year is encourage our HBCUs to get involved with us during that day, not have just an HBCU day, but include them in on our Black Policy Day. So what we're doing in the community now, starting March the 16th, we're having our statewide Founders Day for Delta Sigma Theta. It's going to be at Bluefield State University in Bluefield, West Virginia. Our moving on to April, the Bluefield Alumni Chapter will be having their Red and White Ball, April the 13th. That ball is for scholarship. The Charleston Institute Alumni Chapter on May the 4th is having a book tour. And on May the 5th, they're having their Derby Day party in Charleston. So if you know someone that's in the area that might want to come to CIAC's 2-day events, hook up with Dr. Smith. She'll be able to help you. And I will pass it to Janet.
All right. I was hoping I'd go like, the order would be reversed like it was for the introductions to how y'all got me, but that's okay. So my reflections on Black Policy Day. First, I'm happy that our chapters within the state of West Virginia, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, decided to come and work during Black Policy Day so we can get an idea of what was going on. I think one of the things that we missed out on was just more of the experience of Black Policy Day. So if I had my way, and if I'm the state coordinator next year, I will. But if I had my way, what I would want to do is I want to kind of make sure that we are involved, just as Dr. Guyton had suggested. It's not that we're there on the same day, but we're actually involved more on the same day. So, have an opportunity to do some of the bigger picture things to where we would find strength in numbers instead of, it's always good for everyone to have their own thing, but a lot of the initiatives that Alpha Kappa Alpha is hitting on can be also, they might be the same issues that DST is hitting, you know what I mean? For example, we're focused this year on mental health and mental health, Black maternal mental health. And, it's a program that's dear to us, especially in West Virginia, because we lost someone during the whole, where she was 7-8 months pregnant and she died during that time. That affected our organization in West Virginia because it was someone that we relatively knew. You know what I mean? She was actually my LS. So that was one of our big picture items. And then our next big picture item was for the association, for the sorority in general, was Black youth suicide. Now, we're only 4% in West Virginia, but this is still an issue that could affect us more than what we probably want to recognize. So in terms of our big picture things with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated in Charleston or in West Virginia, we are focused on empowering also, because I know you said it and I don't want to steal it, but we're also focused on that. We are focused on voter education, registration, and mobilization. And one of the things that we have been working with is the When We All Vote initiative that's nonpartisan. We had a webinar about that. So we're trying to make sure that we know what we're voting for. And we want to be more active just as an organization in general, making sure that we are more knowledgeable of who we're voting for and why we're voting for the people that we're voting for. In addition, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is focused on making sure there are public policy forums and candidate forums. I know a couple of years ago, we did that at, I want to say, the Burritos place. I remember there was a bunch of burritos. I don't know if it was burritos, if that was the thing. It might have been, anyway, we were there.
Black Sheep? Was it Black Sheep?
What'd you say? Was it Black Street or Black Sheep?
Yeah.
Was it
Black
burritos?
Sheep. Yeah.
Okay. I remember like organizations coming together, and there were people there it was a nonpartisan get together where candidates had an opportunity to meet us and we had an opportunity to meet them. I was just kidding about the burritos. I haven't eaten dinner yet. And then lastly, we just kind of want to make sure that what we're doing is we want to make sure that when it comes to voting, we're doing the voter impact where we're getting people registered, but we also want to make sure that we kind of recognize those who are working in our I want to say politics, like those that are involved, like Anitra Hamilton out of House of Delegates, 81st District. she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And we've had others like Marie Red, who was, I think, the first African-American senator in West Virginia. So, we need to know who we are and what we're doing so that way we can support and then, I guess, pass it on to somebody else. You see how I did that, where I just transitioned for no reason? Okay. Okay, I'm finished. I'm sorry. I'm going to pass it to Ray, even though I'm probably not supposed to, but I really can't find it. And so that's what we're doing today.
All right. Well, thank you, Jana. Right now, as for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, what we are doing right now, we are in the midst of hosting a program called Kappa League. Kappa League is a mentoring program where we mentor young men from seventh grade through seniors, even in college. Nationally, it has been in existence for over 50 years. And this is our first year here in this area that has gone to is in existence. We have 8 kids right now. And so what we do is we teach them different things, again, to get them prepared for life. Basic stuff like how to iron a shirt, how to tie a tie. We introduce them to things like stock market, banking, life skills. If you recall the episode of The Cosby Show where Cliff and Theo was dealing with the monopoly money, things like that. I mean, we kind of get them acclimated to certain skills. We are in the process of taking a college tour to some schools in North Carolina. We gave them choice schools, either North Carolina or Ohio, and they chose to go to North Carolina. So we're going to do that. Also, we talked about politics, how important it is to vote. We do have 2 seniors, and on March 3rd, we're going to have our induction ceremony at First Baptist Church at 2 p.m. So if you are in the neighborhood, please stop by and take a look at it. And again, we are in our first year, and we are looking forward to a bigger and better second year. And so that's what we're doing now. So I'm going to pass it to the member of the second 1911, Bobby Robinson.
Thank you, Ray. I don't like saying second to anything, but I'll take it. We're still 1911, so I'll accept that. But yeah, as far as reflections on Black Policy Day first of all think it was a phenomenal program, and I applaud Dr. Shaniqua, Crystal, and Katanya for their labor and their work and their efforts and their collaborations with so many people to try to make this made it such a wonderful success in getting more of us together. When we all work together, we can always accomplish so much more, and we can always cause things to be a greater effect. I think our presence spoke volumes to everyone at the Capitol that day. When you see that many Black people that are professional, that many even young Black students even that was there to see us, that alone was worth the weight in gold right there, to seeing the young Black students get to see so many Black professionals being at the Capitol, dressed nice and looking sharp and talking intelligently and articulately is always a positive thing. And I celebrate that, and I celebrate the fact that we was able to get that accomplished and happen during the Black Policy Day. One of the things I think that, as far as a thing that we could better and enlighten on would be starting a little bit earlier, and y'all probably did. I just probably wasn't involved, and I apologize. But starting a little bit earlier on making sure that everybody is putting everything on the table a lot earlier, because again, the one thing that did come up this year in advance, I think that we could have probably figured out a better way to push a little bit more to get more attention towards it, was the $852 million that is owed to West Virginia State University. That's probably one of could possibly go down in history as being one of the biggest injustices in the history of this country, is the way they've robbed, besides obviously the enslavement of African people. But again, the reparations programs and acts will never probably be completely implemented. However, the HBCUs that are suing and getting their monies and getting their classes together to get the classes, when I say classes, I mean classes and class actions together to get this money back in other parts of the country. I know in Tennessee, I know in North Carolina, I know in Florida, I know in Maryland, they've done these things. They've been able to be successful in getting multiple millions of dollars back for their respective universities. And it's been a huge help for the infrastructure of the universities. I think that's something that we have to always lean on and strive to make sure we're doing, because we only have West Virginia State University and Bluefield State University left, so again, and most of us that's from this state especially, some of our parents, grandparents, or somebody were all educated at those respective universities. I have aunts that went to Bluefield State. I have all the rest of my family went to West Virginia State, basically. So again, we just want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power in that regard. And I think that always needs to be in the forefront of our thought processes in all that we do. As far as Omega Psi Phi fraternity is concerned, Xi Alpha chapter in particular, as most of you see, us pretty much all over the place in Charleston. We're always at the schools. We go to almost any school that has a large populace of marginalized people. We're going to be there. We're there for the purposes of showing young students how mature, positive, professional Black men are supposed to carry themselves. We're there to give them an uplift. We're there to give them encouragement. We're there to give them whatever they can possibly benefit from, that we can keep on pushing them towards, So whether it's sponsoring their graduations for the 5th grade graduation, whether it's helping sponsor a trip they have, or whether it's going to some of the after school programs and doing STEM programs with them and letting them make solar cars and letting them race them and things of that nature. All the above we're doing continuously all the time. Fatherhood and mentoring is one of our big initiatives that we're always big on, as well as STEM, that we're always going to be big on throughout the valley. And we strive to do the best that we can do to make that positive difference in the lives of Black and brown kids in particular, and then obviously any other child that needs the uplift as well. We, as when it comes to voting and when it comes to the issues regarding this event being the Black Policy Day and dealing a lot with voting and so forth, I'm going to share my screen real quick, because we have a program, and it was so interesting when I was listening to, I think it was Jana just saying that when she talked about AKAs, and they have voter registration, education, and mobilization. We call it VREM in Omega, and that's our program that we utilize. We've been doing this now. It's been a mandated program of Omega now for many years, actually. And again, obviously, we're nonpartisan, but one of the things that we do emphasize, first of all, is the registration. I'll get to the education in a second, but when it comes to registration, our plan is to make sure that we have all of our undergraduate members registered to vote. Because again, when you're in college, obviously you're at the age to be able to vote. One of the things that we also do, most of the chapters go to the high schools throughout the area. I know we usually go to Capitol High School and try to go to South Charleston as well and register people there that's going to be turning 18 by the appropriate date to get them registered to vote as well. We want to ensure that every graduate brother is registered and aware of when and where they need to vote. Sometimes in these situations, you have older members in your chapters, your respective chapters, and we do as well in our chapters, and they can't get out to vote. So that's where the mobilization comes into play in that regard, because we can help them and or get them to teach them about the absentee ballots, and we can get their ballots and get them to mail them in or so forth, and get them to them and they can mail them as an absentee ballot too. Also, some of the external goals is we want to host voters registration drives. Our philosophy is every time we're together, we have a little computer. Our city councilwoman, Jennifer Farr, she taught us how to use our iPads and just use those, and you can register and vote right there on the spot. And some of y'all might have remembered seeing us at Multifest. We always have our booth up at Multifest. So we had the old fashioned papers, and we was out there, we was signing people up. We got a bunch of folks signed up right there at Multifest. And, where we are, we're going to have those papers trying to register people to vote. But she shows, Bobby, y'all are outdated. Get it on your iPad, just do it right there. So now we do it a lot faster. So now we can register people to vote on with our iPads and so forth. So we're doing that now wherever we have any event, wherever we are, we have iPads ready. We're asking people all the time if they're registered to vote. If they're not, we say, there, do it right now. Another aspect of things and dealing with that is we want to make sure we're providing accurate sources of information to the voters and even the potential voters. I was at the Omegas, we was at the camp, I forget what they call it now, but when the radio station goes to the old Power Park, now Gomart Park, and gives out the candy during Halloween and so forth. And we was there, and it was really interesting because there was a whole lot of returning citizens that were there that I talked to, that they immediately said, "Oh, I'm not, I can't vote, I can't vote," And again, it's code reading, but again, being a Black male, what they're saying. They're saying, I've been on paper before, I've been down before, I've had a criminal record, or whatever the case may be. So when I picked that up in talking to them, I said, "Are you still on paper?" And they said, "No, I've served my time. I'm not." I said, "Well, you can vote then in West Virginia." And see, that's a misconception. A lot of people don't realize that. Again, every state's not like that. But in West Virginia, as long as you're not on paper still, you paid your debt to society, you're allowed to register to vote, and you're allowed to be a full-fledged citizen again back in society. So those are some of the things that we want to make sure it gets out there, because society would have you to think that, once you've made a mistake, you're no longer worthy of the opportunities to make a difference in the way of your vote. When coming to education, we want to make sure we're keeping brothers aware of the upcoming events that have any kind of civic impact on the communities around where you are. Want to imbue the brothers with social awareness, show Omega's other districts and society at large what we as members contribute to our community. What's the benefit of that? When they see other people, like as all the wonderful people on this panel right now, doing the things that we do in our communities, doing things that we do in our homes, with our families, with our own personal children, they see these kind of things and they realize it happens because we learned how to come together and work for a common cause. These same common causes that we want for our own individual families, these same common causes we want for our own individual communities, are the same common causes we want for society at large, and particularly our own communities, the marginalized communities of which most of us have come from at one time or another. And we want to make sure we keep everybody aware of their availability to vote. The mobilization piece, we want to make sure that we're always, we work with the churches, work with whoever we can that has vans, try to take people to voting places. We do strolls to the polls, or boots to the polls and things of that nature, to try to make sure we get people to do early bird registration and things of that nature, and just continually striving to make the differences that we can in the lives of those in which we can most affect. Never in any of our lives should we ever put our own agenda ahead of the agenda of us as a body. We all share too much similarities. We all come from too much of the same similar backgrounds. Whether we've amassed to a certain level now in our lives or not, we still have to make sure that we're always thinking about those that are less fortunate. And any policy that's not in support of such, we can't stand behind it. Never put ourselves up for any kind of self-aggrandizement, any kind of wealth, any kind of station, any kind of self-conceit. Those that have to be cast down, and we have to look forward to making sure that we're doing the things that's going to be beneficial to the whole of us as a people, so that we can go forward and go up together. So with that being said, I will go ahead and pass it over to Katanya.
Hey, so I'm Katanya Hart, one of the founders. One thing that I've been working on has been getting the Crown Act passed in West Virginia. And so using Black Policy Day as a vehicle to spread the word about the disparities that are happening. The fact is, young man in Beckley, having been told by his coach to remove his dreadlocks, 14 years old, trying to tear his hair out, all because the coach simply did not like dreadlocks. It had nothing to do with his ability. He put him on the team, and he put him on the team with those dreadlocks. And so it just was egregious. And as you look across the state of West Virginia to see the number of incidents that have occurred, cheerleaders being kicked off, Black cheerleaders being kicked off the team because they won't wear the Shirley Temple curls that the coach says, different ones losing their jobs because they won't press their hair and have themselves assimilate into the greater culture. I don't know, Dr. Smith, are those slides up? Does the controller have those slides? Because one
Yes,
thing,
you can show the bell. You want to show the bell?
Yeah, because one of the things that we've been doing is trying to get the Crown Act passed in West Virginia, letting individuals know that it is still discrimination to discriminate against someone's hairstyle, especially those hairstyles that are historic and traditional to a culture. And so many people don't know that this is happening, or it's a implicit bias that's taking place, or just out and out bias that's taking place, where you send someone home just because you don't like how they're wearing their hair. Now they're clean and everything else. This doesn't interfere with OSHA or anything along those lines, any safety. It's just a matter of individuals being bullies, individuals attacking our means of the excellence that we are, that we've always showed. You see, our history didn't start with slavery. Our history started with, you know, back in Africa as kings and queens and leading countries and leading armies. Now, this is the bill that is currently up in the Senate, and you see it's two short paragraphs explaining that discrimination laws also includes discrimination based on hair textures and protective hairstyles historically associated with a particular race or culture. That's all this is, and what we're definitely looking for. It has been referred to the Judiciary Committee. It has stalled. We need individuals to call in to contact the members of the judiciary, if you will, to let them know that we want this passed. I have been fighting on this for the last 5 years. If you'll show some of the other slides that I've sent over, we have been fighting for this for 5 years. It's an economic issue. It is a workplace issue. It is a school issue. It is a concern that needs to be addressed. We have one pagers that can share information with you. We have the also the numbers to the Judiciary Committee and the members of those committees. If you need any of that information, if you're willing to lend your voice to support our community, our Black community, again, also our men being told to shave when there's no reason for them to. It's not a safety issue. When people have concerns, it's none of your business what they may be, and they choose to wear a beard or hair on their face. It is not for the workplace to force them into a situation that has nothing to do with their job. Again, we have scripts, we have the judiciary information. Just reach out to me, contact me, Katanya Hart. You can call me on the phone, you can call me, we can help you with the script. Just know I'm 100% in. And I definitely need to have this go into committee, crossover day, which is where a bill will die if it doesn't leave its origin and go to the other side. So right now it's in the Senate. We needed to go through the committee it's been referred to, and then cross over into the House, and then we start back to work again. Please contact me. Let's get it done this year. Dr. Smith? Oh, I'm sorry, Crystal.
Well, I'm going to echo what Katanya said about the Crown Bill. It's been 5 years. And just so that you understand, folks, we need to get this on the agenda. That means you need to call the judiciary chairs, both the Senate and the House. And I want to give you all this tip because we were sponsored this bill, our Crown Bill, sponsored by Senator Charlie Trump. He will not be returning next year. We're pretty sure he'll be holding a Supreme Court seat, and we will miss his leadership on the Senate side. Call him. Say who you are. Say where you're from. Say that you heard him speak at Black Policy Day. Say that you know that he's sponsoring the bill, and ask him why he's not putting it on his own committee's agenda, right? There's always something going on at the Capitol that we don't fully know, but I know that if we press just a little bit, you all know basketball, we got to press on the Crown Bill. That means you got to call and say, please put it on the agenda. Let this process work itself out. We don't have to wrangle votes. We don't have to do this. We have to just get it on the agenda so it can be discussed. So That's very important. And I would love to see it cross the finish line this year, at least with some momentum. And I love the Crown Bill because it is truly the bill that I think most people are paying attention to in terms of process, right? So sometimes this process can get a little bit confusing to folks, or, you know, people don't ask questions. And that's a terrible thing. Nobody knows this process. We are not parliamentarians, and we are all learning this together. So I'd like to encourage everybody that participates in Black by God is to get a little more involved in the actual bills. And what I mean by that is going to the website, looking up a bill, knowing which committees it's in, knowing who the committee chairs are, paying attention to the thousands of bills that are coming out every year. I mean, and I say this in a big group sense, right? We have to pay attention to the bills. We need to be talking to each other in bill numbers. We need to be knowing committees, right? And it doesn't have to be for the whole breadth of everything, but it's very important that we, right, the people that are centering Black policy, everybody that came to the Capitol, that we, right, are teaching ourselves. We're relying on so many other organizations to give us. And that's not that to say that they're not giving us the correct information or that we shouldn't follow through, but we should learn this skill. And I sincerely mean this, right? I'm only a bill sitting on Capitol Hill is what we learned in elementary school. And I'm not sure that, you know, I didn't know how a bill became a law until the West Virginia water crisis. Now I'm very passionate about it, and want to share that also. I'm going to put this link over here about Freedom Day. You know, Black by God, it's been around since 2020. Black Policy Day started with an article by simply asking hundreds of Black folks in West Virginia, what do you think about Black policy? What is our Black policy agenda? And so many of it was just nobody knew. Right? So we kept pushing, right? And now we're in our third year of Black policy, and we're making great momentum. And my hope and dream is that next year we'll be able to hire at least a part-time lobbyist, at least somebody to keep their eyes on the issues that we care about and have a real voice at the Capitol, instead of kind of the way we have to do it, which is the way we have to do so many different things. It's just kind of like get it done. And sometimes that's good enough. But I believe that next year, right, that this group can actually hire a part-time lobbyist and really, really have some momentum at the Capitol. One bill that I hope that you will call and support is Delegate Larry Rowe's bill to make Freedom Day, February 3rd, 1865, a holiday. Nobody would get off work, but at least it would be recognized. And if you're not familiar with this day, please read the article, take a look at it. February 3rd, 1865 is the day that enslaved humans in West Virginia were actually emancipated and free. What you know about the Emancipation Proclamation in West Virginia, seceding from Virginia because we didn't want slavery. It's way more complicated than that. But it's a righteous history, and I suggest that you really take this date seriously and really think about what this means. That our entire lives, we have not celebrated February 3rd, 1865 as West Virginia's true Emancipation Day, the day that almost 21,000 human beings were free. It's a pretty powerful date. And the last thing that I want to share with you all, just because the momentum here, whether we're doing it at the Capitol, whether we're talking about city councils, whether we're talking about, you know, local government, we also have a federal process, right? And many of you have gotten involved in those when we've tried to lobby Senator Manchin and Senator Capito on Build Back Better and various other bills. But I do want to encourage everybody here to pay very close attention to the child tax credit. And we really need your voice to reach out to Senator Manchin to tell him to support the child tax credit. If you want some more information, I will Google it. But this child tax credit is what helps families. It helps farmers. It helps Black mothers and infants. It helps communities and families. And this bill really, really needs to pass. It's critical for West Virginia and our infrastructure. And we just can't, well, I don't want to say we can't survive without this bill, but it's going to be tough for a lot of people. So please look at the child tax credit and reach out to Senator Joe Manchin III, as so many of you all refer to him. And to me, I just hope that we can keep the ball rolling on some serious policy strategy. And we have a year to get ready. So thank you. Back to you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Crystal. I would like to yield the floor to Ray.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. First, I want to apologize. I kind of cut myself short because I was so excited about Capitol League. To echo what Bobby said about Black Policy Day, with the monies that's owed to West Virginia State, $852 million. I wrote a letter to Craig Blair, Roger Hanshaw, and Eric Tarr, and I sent one to the governor also about the money. And again, of course, this is a major issue with us, and of course, this is in relation to the Memorial Act of 1862 and 1890. And in the State of the State address before the session this year, the governor mentions about giving West Virginia State $50 million to create an agricultural department. We all know that $50 million is just a drop in the bucket, but we're not going to accept. I mean, again, we're talking $852 million as opposed to 50. And on top of that, again, this is something that is well needed, because at one point it was taken away from us and they redirected funds to WVU. So now, again, we're trying to fight to get that money back. Just to echo what Bobby said, we got to keep fighting, folks. We have to. We have to keep the fight, and everybody get on board. Both African Americans and even white Americans also who attended and have graduated from West Virginia State University. We have to look at it, at the big picture. I yield back.
Thank you, Ray. Dr. Armstrong was having technical difficulties joining us, but she has joined us by phone. So I am going to yield to her. Dr. Armstrong?
Hello, I'm here. I am on. So sorry. I have had so much problem getting on. I have been trying since 7. I was able to just get on. I had to pull off, and I'm in my car, so I really apologize. So I am here for the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and we have as our platform She Justice, Social Justice, Health Justice, and Economic Justice for All. So that is our policy for this administrative year. We're working to do all of the things that we can to bring information to the people. We have some upcoming things that we'll be sending out later to make sure that these things are out into the public, voter registration, an economic policy. We have something with Chase that is going to be doing a full public program where people will learn about end-of-life issues, making sure that their finances are up to date, and all of those things. That's what we have in planning. And we are continuing to work with vaccine hesitancy and things like that. So I hope I'm sorry that I did not get on early to say any more, to say anything. I can just answer about the policy day, which was very informative. This was our very first time coming in with a contingency, and we had people from different parts of the state, from Bluefield, and they've remarked how wonderful it was for them to be there. This was their first opportunity to do that and to participate. I did talk with one of the senators about the Crown Act, and he remarked that he's on the side of the employer, that if people do not want to comply by the way they want their hair to be done, then they should get another job. And I said, well, Jesus, he had, long and all hair and all of those things. I said, well, if Jesus wants a job, he should comply also. So that's the type of things we have to deal with, and making sure that we get those people out, voter registration. And, folks must emphasize voting at the local level. All the policies that are being made are made at the legislature. More and more of our policies are being done at the local level. You cannot depend on the president, because you've seen how some of these council people are going off and denying the president's activities to do. So we have got to come out, make sure we show presence at the local level. That's where policies are made. So I hope that is we are. So I can answer any other question if you wish, but you know, that's about it. So I turn it over to the next person. Thank you,
Well,
Dr.
thank you.
Smith, for allowing
Thank
me
you,
to be
Dr.
part of it.
Armstrong. Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. We appreciate you. Lauren, can you share that side with elections? I know that we had elections come up a few times. Thank you all. Thank you all for sharing all the work that you all doing. But I wanted to talk about elections real quick. And I know when it comes to primaries, a lot of times that we don't take the primary seriously. But these are all the different offices that are actually running. So it's not only about the presidents, there are many offices. And in the primary, the judges are elected. Our Board of Education are elected. Our assessor is elected. Our magistrate is elected. So our primaries election is very important, especially on the local level. So I encourage you all, as you get individuals out to vote, it's important for us to talk about all these different offices that affect us locally that are up for election this time. And like I said, the judges and the Board of Election, which is very important, are voted in the primary. And so we want to make sure that we actually aware of that. Thank you, Lauren. And also, just want to make you aware of a couple of other dates. We got to make sure everyone is registered to vote by April 23rd. If you want to vote in the primaries, you must be registered by April 23rd. Early election is May 1st to the 11th. So some of you all don't want to stand in long lines. You can encourage individuals to go to early election from May 1st to May 11th. Also, May 14th is primary election day. And for those individuals, especially elderlies that do not get out, absentee ballots are now available for them up until May 8th. So if you know someone that is may not want to come out or may need some assistance in voting, absentee ballots are available up until May 8th. There was a question in the chat that I would like to read. And the question is anyone aware of the governor's emergency contingency fund worth $567 million, and Governor Justice have requested $108 million more? I'll throw that up to if any of the panelists would like to answer that question. Well, I know that I heard about this governor's emergency contingent plan from attending the Tuesday morning group. But I guess the next question would be what steps or what things we can do as community members to bring any change or receive any of that 500 X amount of dollars, or to know how that money is even allocated. Dr. Geisen?
Dr. Smith, I think if I'm not mistaken, that was a contingency fund that he had used during COVID, and he did not use all of the funds in excess. So instead of them turning them back in, he kept that over. So I'm aware of what he had, but I'm not sure how we go about using that. And that's something that I can look into and ask around and get back to you on that.
Well, we think that, and if there's any audience knowledge or any knowledge here, we sure would like to, please feel free to share. Oh, well, that was...
I would just encourage everybody. I know some folks know that Black by God is a print and that we do a newsletter, but we're updating constantly. And so from the Governor's Contingency Fund to WVSU, Missing Money Stories, please go to our website, do a quick search. And I hope that you'll find some useful information there on all the topics that we have discussed tonight. So please let Black by God be a resource for you.
Thank you, Crystal. And we also just put in the chat, I know a lot of people are registered to vote, but we also encourage individuals to check their registration status. A lot of times the polls are clean or poached, or even if you purge, or even if you move, you want to make sure that you change your address or know your correct voting poll. So make sure you also change. So we also want to encourage. And I know we may all get up and go to the voting polls, but let's do a little bit more and make sure we go to the voting polls with somebody. So let's make sure that we encourage somebody to go to the voting polls with us. Are there any more questions, comments, thoughts?
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
This is Bobby Robinson. This one other thing I want to add. One of our fraternity brothers, actually Hollis Lewis, is actually one of the delegates at the House of Delegates here in Charleston, and I just wanted to give him a shout out for the great work he's doing and helping out the various respective areas in Dunbar, South Hills, and the parts of South Charleston areas in which he services and does such a wonderful job. And he's also a very hardworking man and with his kids, with the school, works as a professor at West Virginia State on the parole boards. There's a lot of other things in the community and so forth. He's a great guy, and I just wanted to make sure I gave him a shout out during this Black Policy Day follow-up meeting.
Dr. Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted, since I have a chance, I wanted to talk about education because, I like education. I'm concerned, and I think one thing that we need to be concerned about is the fact that now elementary schools can suspend students, I don't know if the law is all the way there, but the law from last year where secondary can suspend students without any kind of punishment to the teachers, that law is filtering down now to elementary. And I want us to not forget that the students get written up and disciplined for disruptive behavior more than anything else. It's not for guns. It's disruptive, and disruptive behavior is subjective. So we need to kind of be mindful of that there needs to be some kind of, that's something that I want to work on, but we need to be mindful of the fact that our students are being punished for subjective reasons. And I think we need to kind of focus on that. Sorry, education. I couldn't help it.
Well, I thank you for speaking on that because we just recruited you to the space of helping us actually address that issue because we know the suspension issue is a big issue. And they're trying to address it at the Capitol, but they're using the wrong approach. So we definitely going to follow up on that conversation. Brother Ray, I think I sent you off me. Was it something you want to say?
For me, no.
Sorry. Also, Karen Williams wanted me to remind everybody to stroll to the polls on early voting Saturdays during the primary and general elections. Hi, Karen.
Hey, Ms. Williams. Well, thank you all for sharing your information. This is not the last space that we will bring together. We definitely have to bring intentional space together to also make sure that we continue to stay informed and continue to build strategically and also get the answer to some of the questions that we actually have, like we had tonight. What can we do to get a piece of that 578 million, or is that already allocated in a way? So we're trying to find that information out. And lastly, before we go, we have a link in the survey for the Black Policy Engagement survey. So we just want to make sure that everybody voice is heard. Also, Lauren, can you put in the link for the Black Policy Agenda if you have some feedback for the Black Policy Agenda, some things that you would like to work on that we enjoy and really appreciate your collaborative knowledge. Well, once again, I thank everyone for being here tonight. I thank you for sharing your collective work, doing your work in the community, or the mentoring, or the work that we're doing, the programs that we provide, and the young people that we inspire in, and even
Dr.
each
Smith,
other we inspire in.
I'm sorry, I got kicked off and had to log back on. One thing I did want to mention was working the polls. Did we talk about those opportunities, not only taking charge and being in that space, being in the space for when the ballots are being cast, but also it's a financial opportunity. You do get paid, but we need more African Americans to be at the polling stations. We need them to be there and witnessing the process, and making sure that they are allowing and giving an understanding to our African Americans, to our minorities, on what it means to have the different types of ballots, and going to your correct polling stations, that if they give you a certain ballot, it's put in an envelope, and only if there's a tie will it be open and actually counted. So we definitely need for people to be at the polls, understand how our polling and the vote works, and making sure that we make sure our individuals, when they show up, they're given the correct instructions.
Well, thank you, Katanya, for that valuable information. And we definitely would use our monthly Black Policy Day letter to send that information out, because I know a lot of times we find out the information too late. So I'm glad that you brought that up so we can actually send that information out and give people the opportunity to actually be present and work the polls. Are there any more thoughts and comments before we depart from this space, but not from our work? Well, if not, I thank you all for being here, and I enjoyed you all, and you all have a great night, and look forward to us continuing building in our civic engagement and in our communities. Good night.